Hey crew, I've got the key to this 22 Audi e-tron GT. We are going to take it for a drive, but first let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. And I think we can safely say this is the Stormtrooper Special e-tron GT with this Ibis White exterior and all this gloss black, including, because we have the performance pack, the grille in gloss black with all those geometric shapes baked in there. Get standard HD matrix headlights on the e-tron GT. This one with the performance pack has Audi's laser light technology. You do get functional cooling over here to the side for the brakes and tires. With the performance pack, we get these 20-inch wheel designs, which look okay. I think 21s would look even better. They're wrapped in Pirelli Cinturatu tires, never heard of that. 245 section front and a staggered stance, so 285s in the rear. Over here we can see one of the charge ports. There's actually two on the e-tron GT, one on either side for convenience. I love that. Stepping back to look at the profile, so low and wide. Lower and wider than the A7. This is actually Audi's lowest vehicle apart from the R8 supercar. It's got that menace. Getting to the rear, see the matrix LED taillights with that arrow design leading into a tail crossing LED bar. And from here you can really see the hips, so emphasized by the narrow greenhouse and how pressed out they are, and this super chunky diffuser down low. Gosh, I love how this vehicle looks. Even more so than the Taycan from Porsche that shares its platform. But how about that interior? Opening up and looking inside, like a lot of EV manufacturers, Audi went with a leather-free cabin. So it's leatherette for the bolsters, suede for the inserts, that cool stitch pattern, and this 4 sport bucket seat configuration with a 5th seat in the middle. There's dimensionality to the doors, including these really cool pulls. Moving in, behind my own seating position at 6 feet tall, I've got plenty of knee room. The backs of the seats in this leatherette. Good sized foot pockets to slide my feet under, and because they designed the battery with these cutouts in the floor, my knees aren't pitched up at a super high angle despite the low roofline, so I would be comfortable, except for, yeah, my head's on the roof. That's not great. And if you wanted to put an adult in the middle seat, good luck, because the battery design means that this looks like a drive shaft hump. It's just battery. There's a third zone of climate control as standard, and you have cup holders coming down from an armrest, along with that fixed panoramic glass roof that looks beautiful. Very much a cockpit style cabin here. Up front is the same seat design, but with a bit more bolstering. You can choose full leather, by the way. It's just an extra $4,000. This matte carbon fiber trim looks really cool along the dashboard. That's part of the performance package. The steering wheel is wrapped in Alcantara as standard with a flat bottom design, and it's just the perfect thickness. They didn't overdo it. The paddles in aluminum on the steering wheel back are for your regen braking settings. Your digital gauge cluster is standard and reconfigurable. You've got a 10.1-inch touchscreen infotainment with wireless Apple CarPlay and haptic feedback. Down here are some physical inputs for your climate control settings. You've got your 3 stages of seat heating. All this gloss black that's already collecting dust, not my favorite. And storage is definitely at a premium in the e-tron GT. But man, is this a cool looking cabin. I'm ready to take it for a drive. Are you? All right, let's fire it up. Hit this button in the center, and apart from a few dings, there's not much ceremony to the startup of the e-tron GT. We'll hit continue on the screen, and we're going to start out in comfort drive mode. That sounds good. And to throw it in reverse, we press up on the drive selection here, and that brings up a wide-angle backup camera. It's not the highest resolution. It does have rear cross traffic alerts. And I feel like there should be a 360 bird's eye view standard at this 6-figure price point for the e-tron GT. You do have parking sensors as standard, but I want to know that my fancy looking wheels are not going to be scraped against a curb. And the sound we're hearing right now is the only noise available to you in the e-tron GT. You don't have different sound experience options. They don't vary via drive mode. You can't turn it off completely. Obviously, you can't turn off the noise the car makes on the outside. That's regulated, but I would kind of expect you to be able to turn something off entirely inside the vehicle, or for it to be enhanced like you have that option in the RS e-tron GT. But alas, this is what you're hearing, so I hope you like the soundtrack. Starting with the powertrain. Every e-tron GT comes with a dual motor setup, one at the foreaxle, one at the aft axle. I don't say that very often. And powering that is an 85 kilowatt per hour battery. The total output is 469 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. Normally, there is an overboost function that will give you up to 522 horsepower and 479, I think it is, pound-feet of torque. Quite a lot. And with the dynamic package, I think that's the name for it, that we have on this vehicle here, we get a few goodies like the e-torque vectoring system. So not only will you be able to shuttle power to the front or rear axle, but two individual wheels left or right. That should help the handling when we dive into that shortly. Along with a variable ratio steering rack and rear wheel steering system. The rear wheels can steer in the same direction at higher speeds for more stability, or in opposite direction at low speeds for a tighter turning radius. And as we move into a higher speed section here, I'll move to dynamic for improved throttle response and more resistance to the steering rack. I'm also going to make sure that regen braking is turned off completely, so I pull the right paddle on that. As you do it twice, turns off the two levels of regen braking, and now when I take my foot off the throttle, even though we're at a slight uphill, you coast effortlessly. And to tap in. Oh, this is a super well insulated cabin for one. You just have that wind noise, and there's not a lot of it to tell you that your speeds are getting to be ridiculous very quickly. But I really do feel like I'm missing out on some sound experience. And this could just be coming out of that Mercedes-AMG EQS 53 that I was in just yesterday, and that had all sorts of sound cacophony and options. This you just get kind of a hum as you're accelerating. Even the RS e-tron has more theater, and the way this thing picks up speed, I want something extra. But goodness, the velocity. And I kind of expected, again, yesterday, just being in a 751 horsepower electric vehicle, the AMG EQS, I kind of expected just 469 or overboosted to 522 to not feel impressive at all, but it is. Holy cow. And I was chatting with this briefly about, with some of the folks who were on that AMG EQS drive with me yesterday. Electric vehicles, they're just cheating in traffic, especially because there are gaps that would be wholly unsafe to attempt to achieve in a gas-powered car, even a very powerful gas-powered car. But an EV, it's like, I want to go there. Okay, I'm there. That's just how easy it is. And especially a high-powered EV like this one, it warps your perspective on how quickly you should be able to get some. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking because I want to hit the brakes hard here. I like the feel of that pedal and the braking performance there. There was a really good bite and strong resistance as I worked my way deep into the pedal, and obviously the stopping distance there was excellent. Now we're going to use that rear wheel steering system to test. Oh, goodness. That's a turning radius, okay. I swear, you can kind of feel the shift because this is a 2-speed transmission, unlike a lot of EVs, which are just a single-speed direct drive. We have that plus a second gear that shifts and allows for acceleration to continue at higher speeds. And I'll swear I could feel that shift happen at, I don't know what speed we were doing, but it was like instant acceleration and then it just picked up and kept going. And I'm just gonna settle back for 1 sec to, I'll do individual mode, which I've calibrated to still be peppy throttle response, but a softer suspension setting, to talk about how this coasts at highway speeds. I mentioned that the acceleration, with all the wind noise that is generated outside the vehicle, not a ton getting into the interior, but also just the cabin comfort level with that adaptive damper system, the 3-chamber air suspension. It just coasts down the highway so well. And one other option we have on this vehicle is the driver assistance package, and so we get adaptive cruise control with different following distance levels and a lane keep assist system. It's not a steering assist system, so you can't ever really take your hands off the wheels, but as I'll show you in a second, it will correct a deviation from the lane. I'm going to move over here. It's applying braking because it's catching up to a falling distance, and then when I kind of deviate, it corrects with the steering wheel. I feel like for the $2,200 for that package, I want some steering assistance as well. We'll go back to dynamic for a good corner here. Hard on the brakes. Those are great. That steering feel is excellent. Wow. They tuned this rack superbly. The variable ratio meant for at the speed I was taking that corner, I didn't have to put too much into the wheel to get it to pivot. And the sensitivity that I'm getting through the rack, I had a great sense of the stability of the e-tron in that corner, and there was a ton of it. Obviously, you get the benefit of the batteries being in the floor, like a lot of EVs, so you have that inherent low center of gravity stability, but there is just this extra sense of the torque vectoring working to shuttle the power to the outside wheel, and just, again, how they tuned this rack. They did such a good job. It felt very Porsche-esque, and that's the biggest compliment you can give to a car, because Porsche crushes steering, tuning, and feedback. And now, while there isn't an official launch control system in the e-tron GT like there is in the RS e-tron, there is still a way to kind of trick it. So I'm going to hold my foot hard on the brake and prime the power and wait for the light to go green. Here we go. Primed. Launched. Ooh. Ooh! That time I definitely felt the kick of the shift to the second gear. Ooh, that was hasty. Now, before I'd actually done that, I'd somewhat questioned with 522 horsepower, the 0 to 60 estimate from Audi at 3.9 seconds, because that's real quick. But that felt very true to that figure. That was a robust launch. And now it's time to talk range and charging in the e-tron GT. And these are not this vehicle's, well, at least not range, strong suits, because the EPA rates the e-tron GT at 238 miles of range. And when you look around at the other vehicles you'd be shopping for $100,000, that's not great. The charging is very good. You can go from 5 to 80% at a 270 kilowatt charger in just 23 minutes, and you'd probably be able to top up the vehicle from 0 to 80 or 0 to 100 overnight via 220 outlet. Pause, because I have to do one more corner. Gosh, once again. Now, I did stupid things there on purpose to see if it would understeer, and it didn't really do it all that much at all. I had a tiny bit of plow before I could before I felt the vehicle adjust itself and pivot the rear end. This car loves corners. It really does. And I think that's one of the things I love most about this e-tron GT relative to its competition. It's probably time to talk about those. So let's do that now. But as I prepare to talk about competition, I do want to make one final drive select change to move to efficiency and give us the maximum regen braking. So when I take my foot off the accelerator, you can't call it a gas pedal, you can't call it a throttle anymore. Take that off, oh boy. Yeah, there's not much drag here, not much slowing us down. Now, Audi does say they didn't intend to give drivers the one pedal experience, but I think that's a miss on their part, especially because one pedal driving is now becoming an addition, a different dimension to performance, because when you can take your foot off the throttle and already have braking through the regen occurring, it adds a different spin to how you can drive a car. And with the e-tron GT being so good in the handling department, I would love for there to be a bit more play, to give you at least the option of one pedal driving. But we don't have that here. Okay, firmly talking about the competition. There are three different verticals, really, to this electric luxury sedan segment. We've got the true, just basic luxury with the Mercedes-Benz EQS 450. That one starts at a comparative $103,000. Its range is 350 miles, says the EPA. Real world, I got closer to 400 miles. 0 to 60 is nothing to write home about in the 5-second range. It's not really trying to be super performance. It's trying to give you great range and a very luxurious driving experience. It does that well. It just happens to look like poo. Just my opinion. Then you've got the premium performance long range dimension, and that would be the Tesla Model S long range and the Lucid Air Touring, both of which starting in the $90,000 territory, being less expensive than the starting figure for the e-tron GT at $103,000, $109,000 as tested with the dynamic package and the driver assistance features. Tesla Model S long range, 670 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, a range of 405 miles from the EPA. Those are all crushing figures. I don't think it looks as good as the e-tron GT on the outside. The interior is certainly not as nice, and it doesn't feel as athletic in corners. The Lucid Air Touring is very interesting. Have not spent a ton of time in one and haven't driven one, so I can't talk to how it handles. I can say it looks very good on the outside and inside. Its range is phenomenal at 406 miles. 620 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of 3.2 seconds would embarrass the e-tron GT. It's one to keep an eye out, and I'm really itching to get behind the wheel to have more of a firm opinion on it. Finally, there is the sister mate to the e-tron GT, the Porsche Taycan 4S. That one starts at a similar price tag of $105,000. It makes 570-ish horsepower with its overboost feature. 0 to 60 is close to this at 3.8 seconds. The range is also close at 227 miles, says the EPA. I got a real world range of better than that, like 250. Which would I choose? Well, the enthusiast in me is taken aback by how good the e-tron GT is in a corner. It looks phenomenal on the outside. The interior is high quality, looks beautiful, all very intuitive setup. This checks a lot of boxes for me. I want to get more time in the Lucid Air Touring or any trim level of the Lucid Air. I want to take it for a drive because that one could be the dark horse in the segment. For now, I love this e-tron GT. I also like the Taycan in any trim. You can't really go wrong there. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this POV drive review. If you did, please like, comment, and share it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to get notified. And I will see you again next time.